William Lee, Chief Economist at the Milken Institute, joins us live now. So, William, your thoughts on Neil Kashkari's comments there?
I very much agree with Neil. The Fed has never been able to pull off reducing inflation from current levels down to the target level of 2% without slowing the economy dramatically. I think what is uncertain right now is how the Fed's going to do it. And I think the Fed has not been clear enough in telling everyone that actually, for the first time in history, it has two policy tools. One is the traditional interest rate tool, but the other one is the balance sheet. And if the Fed is able to surgically use the balance sheet to drain liquidity from these very red hot sectors in the real estate market and consumer durables, car market, it can actually try to perhaps temper the amount of rate increases that are needed to cool the rest of the economy. The last thing the Fed wants to do is cut off investment, because productivity enhancing investment is the key to controlling inflation in that medium term 3 to 5 year horizon. And that's exactly what we need more of.
Okay, William, I'm going to give you three options, okay, and you're going to pick one, A, B, or C. Do you anticipate a deep recession? Oh, that's option A. Option B, somewhat of a mild recession. Or option C, which would be neither, just simply a much slower economy. What are your thoughts on that? Which one would you pick and why?
I would pick option C right now, because right now the best estimate for GDP this quarter is about 2%. Last quarter was negative 1.4. So we're not going to have the back-to-back 2-quarter recession, at least as far as the best forecast I know of coming from the Atlanta Fed. Now, going forward, if the Fed insists on just using interest rates and using the balance sheet as a passive tool, then we may have a much greater slowdown going forward. And that's what the market's uncertain about. That's why the market is crashing as it is. The Fed isn't giving it enough guidance as to what its policy response will actually be.
Price increases, just in terms of inflation, have proved much larger and much more persistent and longer lasting than the Fed had anticipating. Why was the Fed caught off guard here, do you think, William?
Not only the Fed, but I think most economists were caught off guard by underestimating how long it would take to repair the supply chain. The China policy of zero tolerance has really worsened things much more so than anyone would have anticipated. Add to that the war between Ukraine and Russia, cutting off not just energy markets, but also commodity markets. Those are the pieces that came together into a perfect storm, pushing inflation up and sustaining it for a much longer period of time. And quite frankly, without any clear resolution, despite President Biden's attempt to try to rally the Pacific.
And what did the state, we've got a slew of retail earnings this week, a lot of which were not exactly great, not exactly stellar, but what do the state of retail earnings in this country tell us about the U.S. consumer right now?
That's a great question. Everyone I've talked to in the past, in the last couple of weeks, has said, don't worry about the U.S. economy because the consumer is so strong. Well, in fact, the consumer is really not that strong. The savings rate now is at the lowest level since 2013. So the strong consumer balance sheet that was helped by all these checks from the government, stimulus checks because of COVID, have been used up. So right now, the consumer is going from hand-to-mouth, job, paycheck to paycheck. And despite Chair Powell's claim that the strongest labor market ever, because we have 2 job openings for every person that's unemployed, hiring has not kept pace. In fact, hiring has been at a rock steady level because companies are just not able to find the right kind of workers, despite the huge number of people who are quitting their jobs. We have a lot of churn in the labor market, but it's not that strong a labor market.
Just in terms of, from a much more global perspective, obviously we spent the first few minutes here just talking about the United States, but the lockdowns in China, the sort of zero tolerance COVID policies in China, how is that affecting global demand?
Oh, it absolutely worsens everything. It worsens everything on the supply side because we can't get the goods that are needed, not just in the United States, but in the rest of the world. Also within China, it hurts China's own economy because people are worried about their livelihoods. New college graduates are not able to find jobs. People who are in jobs are being laid off. So China's goal of reaching 5.5% growth is but a hope and a prayer right now. In fact, most economists I know are starting to forecast growth this year and into next year with a 2% growth. And for the first time in China's history, perhaps, it'll be growing slower than the United States.
Where do you see investors right now flocking to for safety? You've got havoc in the stock market, the bond market, cryptocurrencies are going through hell right now. Obviously cash is never a good idea, but especially not when there's inflationary issues as well. So where do you anticipate investors going now, flocking to for safety?
Well, there's the panic money, and that's just selling because they say, oh my God, I can't stand to lose anymore. And that's what's generally considered the foolish money. From what I can tell, the smart money is taking advantage of the huge discounts it's getting on these very good companies, strong companies in the United States and around the world that are selling at rock bottom, fire sale prices. So the tech companies, the Teslas of the world, the companies that are clearly producing products that will be in demand over the next 3 to 5 year horizon are the ones that people are going to be going toward. And as soon as they feel confident about a bottom being reached, I think there's going to be a rush into these companies.
Yeah, it's so hard now. It's so hard though to know when exactly the bottom is going to be hit, whether or not to jump in right now or to wait it out a few more months. William Lee, if only we had a crystal ball, right? William Lee, we have to leave
The
it
smart
there.
money always ladders.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.